Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to report dog abuse. While I talk about this, we'll be watching my little Albert have a sleep. I absolutely will not tolerate dog abuse on any level, but I do completely understand how it is a hard thing to report. And if you see it happening live, just there in front of your face, I can see how it's quite dangerous to just go up and approach the person that's doing it. And just because I don't hesitate doesn't mean that you're in the right or you're in the wrong. It's just different personalities deal with things differently. So let me tell you, there really are 3 levels of dealing with dog abuse. And obviously people all over the world watch my videos, and so it's different. But I've researched all different countries and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to help you. So I'm in the UK, and we basically there's 3 levels. So you can either step in and deal with it yourself, or you can call a dog warden. So dog wardens deal with stuff in this country that aren't so severe, and I'm going to go into that a bit more in a minute. And then you've got the RSPCA, and they will deal with cases that are more severe. They will deal with cases that aren't quite as severe, but I think the dog warden, you're better off calling your dog warden for that kind of thing and letting the RSPCA deal with the really, really bad stuff. I'm going to give you some examples of when I've called the RSPCA and when I've called the dog warden and when I've dealt with things myself. If you deal with something yourself, in my opinion, when I have had to do that is when I've seen somebody in front of me maybe really losing their temper with a dog, maybe kicking it, something like that. I've stepped in and asked, is there anything I can do to help? I'm a very experienced dog owner. For a living I work with dogs. Is there anything I can do to help? You're not going in and being rude, you're not going in and being judgmental, you're just going in and asking if there's anything you can do to help. Now, if I see somebody really, really badly beating a dog, I'm going in, I'm getting that dog and taking it away. You can call the police, you can do whatever you want, I don't care, I'm getting that dog away. But I completely understand that's not for everybody. So let's go a little bit more on a more realistic level. So another example I've had is where I've been walking my boys, and there was this dog, great big Saluki cross with a greyhound, very, very big dog, but very, very aggressive, very aggressive. And like I said, I have years of experience with dogs. I'm always with dogs. I knew that dog was not playing, it was absolutely aggressive. And the owner let the dog off, and at this point there was quite a few dogs walking where I was walking, and the lady let this dog off. It was a very dangerous situation. Everybody was screaming and panicking. Obviously I wasn't, but they were all screaming and panicking, grabbing their dogs in, and it was really bad. So I just put everybody into a circle, get your dogs in the middle of the circle, that's keeping the dog safe. Spoke to the owner. She was completely oblivious to the problem. She didn't have a clue. She was completely oblivious to the problem. That, honestly, I'm telling you, that dog was completely, really, really aggressive. It wasn't just a bit fatty, it was really aggressive. Anyway, as it turned out, I asked a few questions, I found out where she lived, and I got home and I called the dog warden. Now, I didn't call the RSPCA because right there was no abuse actual happening. Now, whether the dog was being abused at home or not, I wasn't sure. But in that actual situation, she'd taken the dog for a walk, she let the dog off, so I spoke to the dog warden. She was absolutely brilliant, and she came out and she spoke to the lady. It was all done confidentially. The dog warden knows who I am, but she went to the owner of this dog, and it's all confidential. They don't tell the people who's reported them. And spoke to her, and the lady basically just as thick as 2 short planks. I mean, she just didn't have a clue. And it did scare her, I think, a bit, the dog warden coming round. And the dog warden keeps an eye on it, and she sort of tracks it. Because dog warden in the UK, dog wardens are so local because they're connected to your council, they're around. And so I think the dog wardens are a really, really good thing, a good way to deal with it. And how you report that is you phone the council and you ask to be put through to the dog warden. The dog wardens are never available, they're very busy people, but you leave a message on their machine and they do get back to you. So that's the first thing I would do, is if the situation isn't horrendous, then call the dog warden. If the situation, when I say horrendous, my level of horrendous is very low. If the dog is being left in a garden, if it's being left out in the heat, in the cold, it's just out in the garden barking all day, and obviously much worse, being abused, being hit, don't hesitate. You call the RSPCA. I'm giving you the number now. Right, so if you're in the UK, the number to the RSPCA is 0300 1234 999. So that is if you're in the UK, the RSPCA is 0300 123 4999. 0300 1234 999. Don't hesitate. Call the RSPCA, report them. It is ideal if you know where the dog lives. So if you've seen the abuse in the house or the garden, but even if you see bad abuse outside and you don't know where they live, doesn't matter. Call the RSPCA. Just call them. Okay, 0300 1234 999. Don't let dogs suffer because you're not sure. Now, all over the world, you have your own versions of the RSPCA. So America you have the ASPCA, and from what I can tell, your version of a dog warden is animal control. I would really, really appreciate it if any people watching this video that are in America could clarify that for me. Am I right in thinking that you would go to animal control as like your version of a dog warden, and then the ASPCA is our version of the RSPCA, and from what I've read, you have different telephone number for different states, and that's the same with Australia. You have it's called the RSPCA, but each state has a different telephone number. Can please, if you're in America or Australia and you're watching this video, can you clarify that for me? Do you have your individual state? And do you have animal control, and are they like the equivalent of our dog warden? Now, unfortunately, I've looked at different parts of the world, and really, it's very, very hard for you you'll probably know this. You don't have an equivalent in the RSPCA. You don't have an equivalent of animal control. This makes it so hard because there is no way I'm just going to say, well, just leave them. For goodness sake, don't just leave them. I have to leave this up to you. If you know that there's no help available, maybe you could find someone who is a bit more experienced with dealing with dogs and maybe able to go in and deal with the situation. Maybe you can find someone who runs a little rehoming centre, something like that. Please do something. Please don't just let those dogs suffer if you don't actually have the RSPCA. Please don't just let them suffer. Google. There's all sorts of people. Like in Thailand at the moment, there's this amazing man, and he's going into the jungle and helping the dogs in Thailand. Now, in Thailand, there is absolutely no animal control at all. You can treat an animal however you want in Thailand. It's absolutely shocking. And Belgium, honestly, shocking. But please don't just leave the animals just because you don't have that. Please, I beg you, don't just leave the animals if you don't have that. If you can't personally deal with it yourself, find someone who can. There are people in all of these countries who are massive animal lovers, and they bring animals into their home. They have little rescue centres. Please try and find someone like that who will go and help these dogs. Please do that. Now, the point I really want to make is, if you see a dog in a car, and I'm not going to say hot car, if you see a dog in a car, the RSPCA clearly tells you on their website to phone 999. Please, I know that seems like a big thing to do, calling 999, but if the RSPCA actually tell you to do that. If you see a dog in a car, call 999. Please don't hesitate to do that. Dogs die in hot cars. It's not just a myth, it's real. Dogs die in cars. Even on a day that looks cloudy in the winter, it gets ridiculously hot in cars very quickly and they die. The RSPCA are not just wasting money by putting out these campaigns saying that dogs die in hot cars for fun. They're doing it because it's true. So please, if you see a dog in a car, all locked in a car, even if it's got a little crack of a window, it's not enough. Please, 999. And in America, you're told any kind of a dog and any kind of animal abuse to dial 911. So please use those resources. Don't hesitate. that's pretty much it really. There isn't a lot to say really. It's quite straightforward. Dog warden, animal control, or your version of the RSPCA. If you don't have anything like that, then please find someone who has set up an animal rescue or an animal shelter, and ask them to help you, because I completely get that if someone's abusing an animal, you're not going to necessarily want to go in and deal with it, but please do something to get some help. I'm assuming because you're watching this video that somebody is bothering you. Something else I do just want to talk about, and this is a bit more difficult. So where I live now, there's been a few dogs suddenly, you know how it is this time of 2022. Dogs are emerging all over the place, and there are some that are barking a lot, and as soon as I hear a dog barking, it just fricks up my attention like nothing else, and I'm on it, and I've been listening and kind of thinking, is everything okay? And you've got to kind of try and work out the difference between a dog that's been chucked out in the garden or whatever, just left there and it's abuse, and a dog that's been put out in the garden because he's misbehaving. And there's a dog near us every evening about 8 or 9 o'clock. He's out in the garden barking his head off at the back door. And it's because that's when they eat their evening meal and he won't behave. And I completely agree with that. If you've got a dog that won't behave, put them away not necessarily out in the garden, but put them away from you. You can't get that dog back in just because he barks, or else he's just going to learn what he'll learn just when I'm not getting my own way bark. And so that's a behavioural issue, but the people are doing the right thing, and eventually that will work. But in the beginning, I was thinking, are they just chucking the dog out in the back garden in the evening and not caring? And I was on it. I was really on it and ready to go and have a word. But that's what I found out, and everything's fine. And then there's another lady at the bottom of our garden. She's got 2 little dogs, 2 Yorkshire Terriers. It doesn't sound like she's ever owned dogs before. And they're naughty. They're really naughty, and they do a lot of yapping. Now, she's just getting used to dog ownership. She's got to become the pack leader, and she's got to learn all that, and she's getting used to all of that. But at the moment, it's all sounding quite horrendous because they're barking for hours on end. But it's not abuse. She's trying her hardest, and she'll get there. Dogs aren't suffering, trust me. I know, you trust me. But it all sounds pretty bad, but it's not. The dogs aren't suffering. They're just trying to assert themselves in the pack, and she's trying to assert herself in the pack. And they're all just trying to find their way. There's no abuse going on. There's no suffering going on. Obviously, a dog does need leadership, and she needs to get that sorted so the dogs have a happy and content life. But there's no abuse going on. But on the other hand, there could be cases where there were dogs barking. In fact, there was one case actually, I just remembered. A dog I was staying at someone's friend's house, gone to visit, and it was a hot day, and then the next door neighbour, there was a dog that was just chucked. The teenage kids were left to look after him. He was just put out in the garden all day, and it was boiling hot, and he was trying to find a piece of shade. Well, obviously, you know me. I was right in there and sorted that right out. Got the dog water, got the dog food, got it out the sun, called the RSPCA. No messing around there at all. So, you got to kind of be sure about what you're doing. But with that dog, I could see it because there was just a little fence between me and him, and it was clear as day what was happening. There was no way on earth I'm going to leave a dog in the heat. No way, it's just not happening. But on the other hand, I can understand how some of you wouldn't want to do that. You want to upset your neighbours, you wouldn't want to do that. In which case, just call your RSPCA. They won't hesitate. They'll be out and sort it out. Don't give yourself a hard time if you're not like me and you don't just dive into these situations. Not everybody's like me, and that's fine. That not everybody can be like me. If everybody in this world was a feisty little redhead like me, it wouldn't be a good place, I tell you. But so don't give yourself a hard time about that. So so that's it. That's all the advice. That's what I found out. And like I said, just go onto Google and it's all there, whichever country you're in. But please, 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 if you are in a different country that's not in the UK. Now in the UK, so Scotland has its own version of the RSPCA. Wales does. Ireland does. Actually, I'm not sure about Wales, but Ireland does and Scotland does. So but can you please, if you're in a different country, please, can you put into comments what happens in your country so that other people can read it, please, because I'm only going on Google. I don't know. I'm not in those countries, but we need to help those animals in those countries. So please, I'm begging you, if you're in a different country to the UK, can you please put in the comments what happens in your country, how it works. If you've got the number, great, put it in there. If it's different, however it works. Can you also let us know, so we've got animal wardens and then we've got RSPCA. Can you please let us know what your version of that is? that would be really helpful. I'd really appreciate it. And more importantly, all the dogs that are being abused in your country would really appreciate it. So please do that to help them. So that's it. As always, any questions, pop them into comments. If there's a situation that you're seeing and you're not sure which way to go with it, don't hesitate, contact me, I will help you. I'm on the Instagram, on Twitter, Furry and Spoil. There's hashtag Furry and Spoil. You know, I'm there, please don't hesitate. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you never have to deal with this situation, but if you do, I'm hoping that I've helped you know where to go with it. And if I haven't helped you, then contact me and I will help you. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.